Hey everyone, welcome to the Geek Pantheon, your place for all your geeky goodness, favorite fandoms, and nerdy narcissisms. I am Eric, and welcome to another episode of the Geek Pantheon. I'm really excited to do another episode for you guys. If you want to check out the Geek Pantheon and be a part of the community, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at the Geek Pantheon on all of those, or you can check out our Patreon. If you really like what we do here and want to support us and make things better, there's a link down in the description. Go check it out. So this time around, I want to do something a little bit different. Not really something we've done before on the Geek Pantheon, but it's a type of video that I really enjoy watching on YouTube, and they've stopped coming out for a multitude of reasons. The number one person that does it is probably Movie Bob that I'm aware of. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description if you're not aware of him. He is a great subscription. Definitely go check him out. I'm a huge fan. But I'm going to be talking about how I would have made The Dark Knight Rises. Now, a lot of caveats here. The number one thing to do to rework The Dark Knight Rises obviously is out of anybody's control, because Heath Ledger did pass away after filming was done. So I'm not going to say they should have had the Joker in it, because that's nonsense. What I'm going to be doing is breaking down if Nolan would have walked away from the franchise where he left it at The Dark Knight, and I, for some reason, stepped in, was asked to direct and write the movie. This is the movie that I would have made and the story I would have liked to have seen. Now, The Dark Knight Rises is a divisive movie. Some people really like it, some people really hate it, and then you have people like me who are in the middle. Some things worked, some things really didn't, and I'm going to kind of lay out how I think the movie would have been better served by telling a different kind of story. So the big things that I want to get out there initially is there are three big elements that I came up with immediately after seeing The Dark Knight. Because at that point we knew that Heath Ledger was gone. And so these are the things that walking out of the theater, I thought this is what they need to do with the next movie. And the big thing, Batman is still a fugitive on the run when the movie kicks off. I think what they did in The Dark Knight Rises, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense given the amazing epic monologue that Batman gives at the end of The Dark Knight about being the hero that Gotham needs is completely undercut when you fire up The Dark Knight Rises. Like, oh, he hasn't been Batman for years at this point. He just stopped. And I'm going to get into casting once I actually get into describing the movie. But the two villains that I thought would be best suited are Bane, which they did, and the Riddler. Now, I know the Riddler is a tough thing to do, especially in the Nolanverse style of superhero movies, but I really like my idea, and so I'm going to run with it. So, we're going to try to accomplish two big things through this movie. A lot of people, when they describe their problems with The Dark Knight Rises, the number one is Batman didn't actually die in the end. And a lot of the how they should have made The Dark Knight Rises end with Bruce Wayne dying and Batman carrying on. Basically taking the ending they gave us, but adding that one extra element of sadness that Bruce Wayne actually did die. Alfred was right, and everybody's sad. I'm not going to do that here because I think that is the easy ending, is to just kill the main character. I think that's the easy ending from a writing standpoint in a lot of stories, is the hero must make the ultimate sacrifice to defeat evil. And I think the best stories do it differently. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, just to name two big ones that are represented in the background. There's Sam right over there. Hi, Sam. So anyway, what we're going to try to accomplish is maintain the happy ending for Alfred, because one of my co-hosts on the Knowledge Check and players on Eberron Renewed, to the podcasts on the network, really loves that ending. Philip thinks that that ending was for Alfred, and Alfred deserves a happy ending. And I think Michael Caine deserves a happy ending too. So we're going to try to maintain that, which Bruce Wayne's death does not get there. And secondly, I just said that the problem with the beginning of The Dark Knight Rises as is that he stops being Batman, because it doesn't make sense with the end of The Dark Knight. So we're going to get him to stop being Batman by the end. Not because of death, not because of any nonsense, because of character development. So we're going to kick off the movie with a few weeks, maybe a month. We are picking up right where The Dark Knight left off. Batman is still trying to do his job, but he is a fugitive on the run. but he is still richer and more capable than Gotham PD. We established the first fight of the movie is in a parking lot, a back alley, something. There's a huge drug deal going down. And we learn through the early dialogue of this that a new cartel has moved into town. And they're selling filth on the streets of Gotham. Because another big thing that we're dropping with Bane is we're dropping the Bane storyline from The Dark Knight Rises, and we're doing something different. Because when the movie came out here in America, Occupy Wall Street was one of the top stories in the news. Everybody was talking about it, the 99%. And even a few months after that movie came out, after all that fervor had died down, and it was less of the top story and more of just, sadly, an accepted fact of life, the movie felt dated. I mean, the attack on the stock exchange, the class warfare, the way they told class warfare in and of itself is a kind of a universal thing, but the way they told it in The Dark Knight Rises makes it very dated very quickly. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to have the establishing thing with the drug cartel being in town, peddling filth on the streets of Gotham. And Batman breaks it up. Comes in, rough and tumble, punches some guys. He's very quick. He's effective. He's methodical. He's having to be at the top of his game because as soon as the last henchman goes down and Bruce Wayne does something with the drugs, sets it on fire, or gathers it up, throws it in the Batmobile, and he takes off just as the cops show up. Maybe they shoot on the Batmobile as it's going away because Batman killed an elected official in their eyes. That's a big deal. And so he is most wanted, number one on the list in Gotham. So the cops return to Gotham PD headquarters. Commissioner Gordon is there. Cops come in like, oh, you got away again. And Commissioner Gordon's wringing his hands, showing like, oh, well, maybe next time, guys, even though he knows that Batman isn't really the bad guy. At this point, the mayor arrives to announce that the Batman investigation has gone on too long. Gotham PD is not gaining any headway. Commissioner Gordon isn't putting his full effort into it for some reason. And so the mayor has reached out to the FBI because once again, an elected official was murdered by a vigilante. Like, that's awful. And I feel like the federal government would want that to be resolved, especially in as high profile a city as Gotham is. And so the FBI sends in their best investigator. Number one, never had a case go cold, always solves them. You could even throw in that he's solved like 20 cold cases. He can just pick up a file, see the ones and zeros, and figure it out. His name is Edward Nygma. He shows up on the scene, played by Edward Norton. I think I just love his acting style. I love the timbre of his voice for this type of role as the Riddler. I really like it. He's not going to be running around in a suit with question marks and neon green and the bowler cap and the cane. We're doing Nolan's Riddler, which means an FBI investigator on the scene to hunt down the Batman. And so he comes in and immediately takes things over. Completely just undercuts Gordon, throws him aside, tells everybody that he's on the case and they will find the Batman. So that's established. Now, once Nygma is on the case, the Gotham cops start showing up quicker and quicker. And so we see Bruce Wayne in the Batcave with Alfred, and Alfred's beginning to grow concerned. I mean, Bruce Wayne has taken the whole of Gotham on his shoulders. He is carrying the city on his back, and he's not relenting. He still has survivor's guilt over Rachel and Harvey Dent, and he can't let go of the debt that he feels like he owes to the city. Rachel died because of him. Harvey Dent died because of him. All those people that died in Batman Begins were because of him. At least in Bruce Wayne's mind, it's all on him. And so he has to continue being the Batman to be the one to save Gotham because he is the reason everything has gone so bad thus far. So the cops are getting more and more effective at catching up to Batman. He shows up on a scene to stop another drug deal with the cartel. But the cops get there in the middle of the fight and they start they ignore the drug cartel guys. They go after Batman. And so some of the guys get away, including the kind of the ringleader. He wasn't in the first scene because we want Batman to take everybody out in that first scene. But we start seeing this reoccurring guy. It's the same actor over and over. He's always getting away. Batman is Bruce Wayne is starting to get worried because he's getting shot at. I mean, this whole area is exposed on his body. So, a bullet there would not be great. He stops going out on the street as much. He stops trying to stop crimes. So Batman has to start scaling back his vigilantism. I mean, the cops are always there when he's trying to take down the cartels, time after time, and more of the cartel guys are getting away. We maybe start seeing a couple of the same guys at each of these deals. And this obviously isn't shown in montage form. I'm just kind of setting up this storyline as we move forward, but we're going to be cutting to different storylines. So as Batman begins to scale everything back, we see a new vigilante begin to step up on the streets. There starts to be reports of this guy that just goes after criminals. But the difference is, whereas Batman is a vigilante, he's a rogue cop. He's a citizen cop, taking the law into his own hands, but still trusting in the system to process these criminals. This new guy is judge, juror, and executioner. He's killing criminals, taking things to a whole other level. And he says so. Maybe we get a news report after he's killed a murderer, or just something even worse if you want to go really dark with it. But he has killed an abhorrent. Nobody is going to weep for this type of individual being killed in the context of the movie. And a news reporter runs up and asks him why he's doing this. And he says that, no, we're dropping the voice. Batman has been good for this city, but he was never enough. He was never willing to go the distance. He was never willing to do the hard things that needed to be done to keep this city safe. And that's why I will be the bane of criminals everywhere. And Bane is played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because that man can save any franchise. I really like, obviously, his physicality, his charisma, and this is right on the cusp of him becoming a major movie star. So you could really get him. He was primarily cutting his teeth on more comedic roles, except for the Scorpion King, but we don't need to talk about the Scorpion King. But before he gets involved in G.I. Joe and the Fast and Furious franchise and really starts to cement himself as an over-the-top action star, you can get him here in like a very grounded but still action-heavy role and just let that charisma fly. Because you want the audience to be conflicted about Bane. I mean, obviously, he's doing things the wrong way, but he's being effective, and he's really charming, and intense and focused. And so we continue to get the Bruce Wayne storyline building up of, he obviously has a problem with the way Bane is doing things. He takes issue with that because he doesn't believe in killing. He believes in the process. Batman is lawful good. He does things differently than the cops, but he believes in law and order. He just cuts out the red tape. Whereas Bane doesn't care. He will kill any criminal that he comes across, which is where things start to get murky for Bane, because he starts murdering people for lesser and lesser crimes. Maybe it's somebody that manslaughter. Still killed somebody, but manslaughter is a whole different thing. And maybe he starts going after financial criminals, just general breaking and entering people. People that are out on the street because Gotham's law system is failing. The same stuff we were addressing in Batman Begins. But now there's somebody that is willing to take things maybe too far, depending on how you want to play that in the movie. Obviously, it's too far because Batman is our hero. And this is a point where we are going to shift things, because the problem with Batman in The Dark Knight, the reason why Heath Ledger as the Joker was everybody's favorite and nobody really talked about Christian Bale, is because in that movie, Batman was a very passive character. Things happened to him. He never really took the fight to the Joker. The Joker was always one step ahead of him. So what we're going to do now is have Batman go on the offensive. So the cops are still after him. He's still the most wanted guy in Gotham. But you have a new entity going around killing people. And so Batman is going to start to take the fight to them. So checking back in with Detective Nigma, or Investigator Nigma. He's hot on the trail of the Batman. He's always showing up at these crime scenes right after Batman has escaped, gone away, and he's using his considerable means to try to figure out who the Batman is and why he killed Harvey Dent. That's the big thing. That's the connection, is because he's not just trying to find the criminal. He needs the motive if he's going to get a conviction to stick. See, we have somebody operating wholly outside the law as judge, jury, and executioner, and somebody who is enslaved to the law in Edward Nigma. He needs to put all the pieces together. He has to, because he has never failed at this. He has to find out who the Batman is and why they killed Harvey Dent and how they killed Harvey Dent and all of the details. And we see him become more and more obsessive. Maybe he shows up at the crime scene and asks about what evidence the Batman left behind, and just a random beat cop is like, he didn't leave anything. And maybe Nigma just backhands him or punches him or something. Just frustration is starting to build. And we can get a really cool shot of Commissioner Gordon walking into his office that he's taken over in Gotham City PD headquarters. Maybe it is Gordon's old office. Nigma kicked him out and was like, this is my office. I get the big man's office. I have work to do. And so Gordon walks in and there's just that murder wall. Just pictures, red strings, Harvey Dent's pictures up there, Rachel's pictures up there, maybe a picture of the Joker, all this stuff. Nigma's trying to put all the pieces together. And Gordon's starting to get concerned that you're becoming obsessed. You can't keep going like this. You have to take a break, because Nigma's not sleeping. He's just living off coffee. And Nigma just starts like muttering, like not wholly unhinged. We're not going crazy. We're just going obsessive. He's obsessed with solving the riddle. He has to figure out who the Batman is. And I mean, it would even be funny if he just kind of was looking at everything as like it's an enigma. Just the reference to his name being kind of silly. Nolan probably wouldn't go for that, but at the same time, he went for the whole his middle name is Robin thing. So, anyway, so we have the big confrontation building between Nigma, Bane, and Batman. And I think finally what's going to happen is you're going to have somebody that is deplorable, maybe not one of the Falcones, because they were kind of out of things since Batman Begins, but another big crime family. Or if you just want to have that callback to Batman Begins, have one of the underbosses of the Falcone family in court in Gotham going through the trial. He's kicked back, not a care in the world, because Batman's focused on the cartel in the city. He's focused on this outside entity coming in. And so the judge is going to let him off because they have no evidence. They have none of the. Bane breaks in, not with an army. Bane is not a revolutionary. He doesn't have an army of people backing him. He is not a member of the League of Shadows. He is the dark mirror to Batman, which is the best way to play that character. And so you have him kill in front of this courtroom, in front of the cameras, because it's a televised trial. Why not? And he kills him on television. And that's too much for him. And so Batman does something that you never would think that he would do. He goes to the press. It's nighttime. Commissioner Gordon may be there and says, I've called this press conference here. It's all a ruse. It's Gordon's press conference, but Batman's going to interrupt it, even though they both know that this is going on. Batman shows up, and I'm not going to do the Christian Bale voice, but Bane, you've done nothing but harm the people of this city. They're living in fear, and they do not trust you to take care of them. They do not trust you to look after this city. You are not bringing hope to this city. You are merely an agent of fear, and I am going to stop you. So makes this declaration, and that gives Batman really that edge of a non-passive hero. He is going after Bane. He's going after the problem, and Bane, bring it on. And so we can have the whole Bane has his headquarters under the city thing in the shadows. Once again, mirroring Batman, he has his own cave, and so Batman, because he's Batman and he's a detective. That's the other thing. We want this movie to establish Bane and Edward Nigma being the dark sides of Bruce Wayne. The Nolan movies never really played up the detective side of him, but it can here. And so Batman begins searching around, going to the places where Bane has murdered people, analyzing evidence, things like that. Alfred's with him, and Lucius are there helping him the whole way. But Alfred is beginning to grow concerned. Like, you don't need to fight this fight alone. You can come out with the truth that you didn't kill Harvey Dent. You can come out with the truth of who Harvey Dent was. And Batman refuses. The city needs hope. The city needs a Dark Knight. So eventually, Batman figures out where Bane is, and you could play with Bane maybe letting him figure it out or not. But every step of the way, anytime Batman goes to investigate a crime scene that Bane was at, we see you don't even need to show him analyzing evidence, but you see out of the shadows, Edward Nygma comes out because Nygma is not going to attack Batman. He's not going to let him know he's there. That's not the fight that he wants to play with him. And so Nygma is just soul focused, obsessed. And so you have the big blowout fight between Batman and Bane. Here's the thing with the fight between Batman and Bane in The Dark Knight Rises versus the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger told Christian Bale to kick the crap out of him, like to actually punch him, beat him down. And so none of those punches were pulled. It was not choreography. It was Christian Bale punching Heath Ledger in the face. And that's why that scene is so effective. And why the fight between Batman and Bane is not as effective, because they're doing choreography. They're pulling their punches. There's lots of blocking, stuff like that. If you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it, with his background fighting in the WWE, he knows hand-to-hand combat choreography very well. He's done it for years at this point. But also, he's not afraid of getting hit. Like, as much as people want to rag on wrestling for being fake, they actually do take pretty stiff hits a lot of the time. I think you could get a better fight out of Christian Bale and Dwayne Johnson than what you got out of Tom Hardy, simply because there won't be as big of a reliance on over choreographing it. There won't be as big of a fear on Dwayne's part, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's part, of getting hurt. And just the choreography is going to be a lot smoother and a lot grittier and a lot more real, I think. Nygma shows up and is witnessing the fight. And at one point, Bane punches Batman in the face and breaks his mask. Because he's more powerful. You look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I want pain and gain Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, just a monster. Huge. Just breaks the mask. The mask comes falling off. Bane sees who Batman is, and Nygma sees who Batman is. And Edward Nygma, you can just see all the pieces falling into place. And so, if you want to have the backbreaking scene, you can keep it. I mean, that's like the most iconic thing that Bane did in the comics. I don't think it fits the story here, so I'm going to cut it. And this might be the point where a lot of you shut off and say, well, Bane has to break his back. I don't think so. I think the story we're telling here does not warrant that, because I don't want to take Bruce Wayne out of the movie for the entire second act. Cut the backbreaking thing. Just he knocks him out, beats him down. He's a bloody pulp on the ground. Not broken, but down, because he needs to rise. So after he leaves, and I know I said the catacomb, like, headquarters thing, I like it better if it's on the street. Now that I think about it, now that I'm talking to you. I like it better being in an alleyway or something. Maybe Crime Alley. Ooh, I like that. Crime Alley is where Batman faces the darker version of both of himself, because Bane beats him down. You can have the blood running down into a drain, and maybe he looks over while he's on the ground and sees his mother's face right there or something, if you want to get really like, oh gosh. So this moment is reminding Bruce of how it felt as that little boy, watching his world go down the drain. Literally, his parents killed in front of him. Why he decided to be the Batman, and why he is falling short. So anyway, Nygma comes out of the shadows and begins to interrogate him. Like, maybe pulls him into like a little doorway thing that's in the alleyway, just in the shadows, or you can leave it out in the open. It's the movies. Nobody has to walk by. It's the middle of the night, whatever. But Nygma starts interrogating Bruce, but in a screaming, obsessive kind of way. Like, I know you're Bruce Wayne. Why did you kill Rachel? Why? Tell me why. I need you to confess why. And he's trying to get Bruce to confess that he killed Harvey Dent because he was still in love with Rachel and Harvey took her from him. And that's why he killed Rachel too. You killed both of them because she wouldn't love you. Isn't that right, Bruce? Isn't that right? She didn't love you. And just hammering this into him. And Bruce is trying, no, I didn't kill them. I didn't. Confessing because he's a bloody mess. His mind is on his dead parents. And so he's telling him he didn't kill him. But of course, Nygma's not buying it. That's the one piece of evidence he had to go on to start this case off is Batman killed Harvey Dent. Now he has Batman is Bruce Wayne. Therefore, Bruce Wayne killed Harvey Dent. That's all he needs. Now he just needs the confession from Bruce Wayne to close this case. He has to close the case. And I would have Nygma begin not fighting, but because Bruce is bad on the ground, but grab around the collar of the bat suit and pull him up and be like, why did you kill her? And maybe slam him back down in the ground, starting to get brutal with him. And that's when you have Commissioner Gordon run out of the shadows, tackle him to the ground, and cuff Nygma. He's gone too far. He was beating a suspect, and he's gone off his rocker. At this point, when Nygma can't close the case, when his reputation is ruined, that's when you have that switch flip, and he's just muttering like, "Why did you kill? I have to solve the riddle. Batman is Harvey Dent," and just muttering. So he's a crazy person. He's lost it. His obsession was his undoing, and Bruce witnesses this. Bruce sees this, that Nygma being obsessed with a singular thing killed him. So you have Bane going about his business, and Bruce gets taken back to the Batcave, is patched up by Alfred. Lucius is there. He's telling them about what happened with Nygma and with Bane. And they're warning him, like, that's Master Bruce. You say that he was obsessed with one singular thing, but I've seen men go down a much darker path. And just that pointed, I'm talking about you dunce. So you have Bruce getting patched up, and Bane goes after the cartel. That is kind of the watershed moment. Is now it's drug dealers, bad drug dealers that would kill people, but they're not killing people right now. And so we have those same guys that have been like evading the Batman because of the police interference. And Bane comes in and just starts murdering them. We're keeping a PG-13 rating here, but like sound of bone crunching, maybe just the quick neck snap thing. Nothing too brutal, but you do want to get the sense that Bane is tearing through these guys with a new fervor. And the head guy that you've seen it all but that first drug deal, the one that's just been going, sees Bane. And I like the idea of Bane being masked just for the sake of anonymity. And I think you could do some cool designs with the Bane mask from the comics to really institute that sense of fear. But you're also paying for Dwayne Johnson to be in your movie. So, and you want the charisma of Dwayne Johnson. And I've never seen him try to do that with a mask on. So I don't know if he could. So if he can, mask him up. If not, don't. If he is masked, he removes his mask. If not, he just approaches this guy who there's a sense of recognition, and he backs up and is kind of terrified of Bane. And we can get a flashback or just a brief back and forth that gives us some exposition of the lieutenant of the cartel, probably not the head of the cartel. That's not how cartels work. But the guy that's in charge of the Gotham distribution was present and killed Bane's daughter. And that's what brought Bane to Gotham. Bane was on a mission to get the cartel out of there. And his mission was to instill enough fear in Gotham to where the cartel would want to leave. But they persisted. And they got confident because Batman couldn't stop them. But they didn't account for Bane. And so he is just wrecking this guy. You cut back. This is all intercut. This scene with Bruce in the Batcave and the fight between Bane and the cartel guys. I would love to, I don't know if I would have had this inspiration before the movie came out. I would love to mirror the fight, the best Batman sequence in Batman vs. Superman the warehouse fight. I would love it to have that feel of Bane taking out all of these guys. So Bruce decides he has to go finish the fight. He has to finish this. He has to save Gotham from Bane. And Lucius and Alfred are both telling him, you're barely healed. You can't do this. And Bruce makes some comment about he is the bane of this city or something. If you want to get, once again, cutesy with it, Robin is his middle name. So Batman or Bruce Wayne tells Alfred, now this time is going to be different because I'm not going to go it alone. So we cut to the warehouse. Maybe we had the flashback, cut to that scene with Bruce, cut back. We're back in the warehouse with the Rock and the drug dealer. And you have him just start pummeling and beating this guy. He's not going for the quick kill this time. Once again, we're going to keep PG-13 rating. We're not going to see like bones crack in his face or anything, but just wrecking this guy. And then a wall explodes, something, in comes the Batmobile, skids to a halt. Batman comes out. Once again, not going to do the Christian Bale voice, but he just tells Bane that he's done terrorizing this city. You are finished with this because no man should have the kind of power that you're wielding. Nobody should have the ability to terrify an entire city and bring them to their knees. And so we get another fight. But this time, while the fight's going on, you have the Batmobile getting into action. Maybe that you have this cool sequence of the Batmobile trying to hit Bane. Once again, we're not trying to kill him, but Batman does some stuff that would kill normal people, except for the main bad guy. So maybe we get this cool scene of them both holding on to the Batmobile as it's getting away from this warehouse. And they're hitting each other, trying to get to the Harbor District where Batman began in Batman Begins. That same scene where he interrogated Falcone. So we're driving through the streets, and once they arrive, fight goes on a little bit longer, and then spotlights begin to come on. And Batman doesn't get the upper hand on Bane. He does not beat Bane in a fist fight, which I know is going to lack some satisfaction for a lot of fans, but that's not what that story's about. Batman has finally learned that no one man should have that power. And so you see Commissioner Gordon with Gotham's finest surrounding Bane, guns drawn. Batman raises his hands. Bane maybe punches, maybe goes after him. We can kill Bane if we want to. That's fine. Bane can go after one of the cops and boom, 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 boom. Or Bane reluctantly raises his hands and they're both arrested. And then the denouement of the movie is Bruce Wayne testifying the truth that he did not kill Harvey Dent. Commissioner Gordon would testify on his behalf, probably get stripped of his title because he withheld evidence, which is fine. Like we're bringing this trilogy to an end, and not everyone gets the happiest ending, but everyone gets a bittersweet ending. But the important thing is Bruce Wayne is acquitted. Bane is charged for all the murders that he committed. He goes behind bars. And Bruce Wayne hangs up the suit. He's done. He walks away from being Batman. And you can have a wonderful shot of him and Alfred at the Wayne Manor. Maybe there's some cops there because he's still a person of interest. He was Batman for a while, so that wasn't great. But he's not behind bars. He gets to live out his days in Wayne Manor with Alfred. And that's how I would have liked to seen it. Alfred would be happy. He'd be glowing because Bruce has finally come to peace with the fact that, yes, Gotham may not be the perfect city, but as long as one person has the ability to bring it to its knees, it will never get any better. And so he resigns himself to being Bruce Wayne philanthropist. And we can get some great shots of him opening an orphanage like we got at the end of The Dark Knight Rises. We can get some great shots of him maybe even running for office. I can imagine that would play well to a city. Yes, I used to be a masked vigilante that fought crime for you all, and now I want to go represent you or something. But just show that Bruce is going to start helping the city in a healthy way, because that's the only two ways you can end this trilogy, is with death or resolution, with Bruce coming to terms with who he is and what he can do best for this city. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I know this was a super long video. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you like these type of videos, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you thought. And once again, thank you all so much to the wonderful Patreons of the wonderful patrons of the Geek Pantheon. This episode was brought to you by Jessica Smith, Laura Pickren, Irene Villarito, Daryl Delaney, Darren Katska, Ryan Royce, CComp5950, and Nico Batson. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.